off to get Mia.
We are.
It's her birthday, and what is this? The Pirate and Princess?
The Princess and Pirate train.
It's a train, so
Yeah.
it's going to be cool. It's the Heber the Heber Valley Railroad. I always call it the Heber Creeper.
Yeah, it's been the Heber Creeper before.
You know, they should do that for their Halloween train. Call it the Creepy Creeper.
The Creepy Creeper.
Because some people still know it by the Heber Creeper. I know it as the Heber Creeper.
I do too. It's been the Heber Creeper most of my life.
Technically, I guess it's the Heber Valley Railroad. Anyway, that's where we're headed. We're going to go ride the Princess and the Pirate train with the granddaughter Mia. So this should be a load of fun. Mm-hmm. Check it out.
So it's Mia's birthday.
Yes, and we get to go for a train ride.
Yes, at her advice.
Yeah, she said she wanted to go for a train ride, and we looked into it, and they're taking precautions, and everything seems to be safe. So we said, what the heck? Let's go for a train ride.
Right.
So we've been on this railroad before, the Heber Valley Railroad, alias the Heber Creeper.
Right, and I still want to refer to it as the Heber Creeper.
Me too, even though it's Heber Valley Railroad. But it's been a scenic line here in the Heber Valley for, as long as there's been a Heber Valley.
Right.
Now, of course, we're not ignoring the fact that there's a pandemic.
Right.
And so precautions need to be taken, and they're requiring precautions too, which is a good thing. But boy, are they having a grand time.
They are. Just look how much fun.
They call it the Princess and Pirate train, and half of the cast members are pirates, and half of them are princesses, and somehow that all makes sense.
Yes, exactly.
And it's so much fun, and it's really fun for the kids. Mia had a grand time. Now, the Heber Valley Railroad is always fun because it's sort of like visiting a museum.
It is.
They've got a ton of really neat equipment around here, and they keep adding to the collection, and we didn't realize it, but this year they've probably added more than ever. They also did a cosmetic restoration on this neat little locomotive. It's been up here since it was brought up here from the city park in Provo. But this wasn't used in their big Geneva steel mill. It was used in their older mill, the Ironton mill.
Oh, really?
Which was kind of south of Provo, but it's all part of the same operation.
Weren't they mining the iron in Cedar City?
Yes, the Ironton mines down there, and then the Ironton plant, in its day, a huge operation.
Oh, a Union Pacific caboose.
Yeah, classic lines. It's a CA3. And all those earlier Union Pacific cabooses, I think, just have classic.
Oh, no kidding.
Classic lines. Nothing better than a CA3. Now, this is interesting. They bought a whole bunch of new equipment last year, of course, not knowing that there was going to be a pandemic. But they bought a bunch of new passenger cars and locomotives, and then they built this huge multi-million-dollar facility for car shops.
Isn't that neat? I love the layout of the tracks.
Isn't that great? And they can put 12 of their restored passenger cars indoor out of the weather now.
Oh, good.
And so just as they got this finished, then they were shut down because of COVID.
Oh,
jeez. But look at the beautiful locomotives that they picked up. Some museum somewhere, I can't remember the details, but they bought a whole bunch of new equipment, and that's what they're running this year. And of course, they still have a lot of their older equipment that's been knocking around here for years and years and years and years.
Still interesting, though.
Still very interesting. Well, this was originally a branch line of the Denver and Rio Grande Western that came up from Provo, and then it just dead-ended here at the little village of Heber. And but it was always such a scenic, wonderful trip to come up the Provo Canyon to Heber that it's been a scenic line since the day it was built.
No kidding.
And realistically, it's more of a museum now than a scenic line, given all of the really cool equipment that they have here.
But it's really known as a scenic ride.
And quite a scenic ride it is. Well, it's time to leave.
Here we go.
So we're only required to wear our masks when there are other people around. As long as it's just the three of us, we can take our masks off. But when the cast members or anybody else comes by, then we're required to pop our masks back on because, well, you know, welcome to 2020.
Exactly.
Jeez, the summer that's really weird. Of course, the whole time we're traveling, the pirates and the princesses are running up and down inside the car, and there's dancing and singing and music playing and just all kinds of cavorting going on.
Exactly. Lots of fun.
Yeah, and again, every time they come by, you have to quickly put your mask on. You know, every time we come up here, too, I think there are more houses than the time before.
They're sure building up in that way a lot, yes.
Well, they call this area the Wasatch Back, as to distinguish it from the Wasatch Front on the other side of the mountains. And there's like 3 million people living on the other side of the mountains, and a lot of them have figured out that it's just a short drive up the canyon, and you're up here, and why not live up here instead?
Exactly.
So everywhere you look, there's houses popping up like mushrooms. But I get it. What an absolutely beautiful place.
Oh, I love the Heber Valley.
Always have. You know, as we got down by the reservoir, I felt like we had driven right into the backdrop for our own model railroad.
No kidding.
But since we used all this area up here as inspiration, I guess it makes a certain amount of sense that this area looks like our backdrop, or should I say our backdrop looks a lot like this area.
There we go.
Yeah. Of course, we don't want to forget the real reason we came up here is it's Mia's birthday.
Exactly, and they had a celebration. It seemed just for her. Looky there.
Yeah, we all got cupcakes. Well, the pirates and the princesses were both passing out cupcakes.
So how appropriate.
And they sang her happy birthday and everything. So this is about as good a birthday party as you can provide for somebody, especially in the middle of a pandemic.
Exactly. Now, every kid gets to spend some time with the cast members actually dancing and cavorting and singing and carrying on. So now it's Mia's turn.
Mia, dance. Turn around like a grandma and dance. Woo!
Well, look at Mia dance. She's having so much fun.
Well, she's trying to get into the spirit of the whole thing, but it's like a little intimidating.
It is a little bit because a little self-consciousness sets
Yeah.
in, but
Yeah, but she was, at the end of the whole thing, she certainly had a grand time, even though it was a little bit intimidating. But you know, we had a grand time too.
we sure did.
A grand day out. Well, the engine ran around us and then pulled us back down the hill to Heber, and by then the sun was setting, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful evening here in the Heber Valley.
Oh, it sure was.
What a grand day out.
Exactly.
Well, that's enormous fun.
Isn't that fun?
I had no idea they'd bought all new passenger cars and,
Oh, my.
and some locomotives,
Right.
but that new car facility,
Isn't that nice?
wow.
Really cool.
And of course, because it's 2020 and everything has gone wrong, they spent all that money, millions of dollars, gearing up, you know, because everything was going great and the railroad, and then COVID happens, and now
Right.
they're only able to sell half as many tickets, and
Well, they have to space everybody apart in the cars.
you've got to space everybody out, and
Yeah.
they were hoping to recoup a lot of the investment, I guess, on
Right.
building. Anyway,
At least they're open.
they're
sort of.
open, and hopefully they will thrive, and they'll have that car facility, and it'll just be absolutely amazing.
It's always fun to ride a train, no matter what, though.
Always, and these new cars that
Oh,
they've bought
man.
are just
Isn't that
spectacular,
fun?
comfortable,
Yeah.
and just fun.
Leg room and
Leg room, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So no complaints there.
No.
Well, if you haven't been over to the channel, pop over to the channel, and if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe, because then you can be notified if you set your notification bell
Right.
when we upload some foolishness.
Exactly.
So the easy way to do that is to click the blue button. Are we ready for that? Zoink! Right there, the blue button. Well, we're not sure how you found this movie on the internet. We hope you didn't find it boring, and we will see you here on Tuesday with some brass engines. See you
See
then.
ya. Bye.
Bye-bye.